there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Regina, and in today's video we are going to do a full garden tour, the first full garden tour of July. So before we get started, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. Recently my channel reached its first 1,000 subscribers, and that is just really exciting for me. I just didn't know if that was something that would ever happen for my channel. I know lots of content creators create content and they never hit that kind of, that 1,000 subscriber mark that makes you feel like you really arrived on this platform. So thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you for watching my videos. If you haven't subscribed, now is your opportunity. But I love creating this content. I love gardening, so I'm so excited to get to share it with y'all. I had actually made it a goal whenever I started this channel that I really wanted to hit 1,000 subscribers by August of this year, because little known fact, I want to be, as they say, geriatric millennials, and I will be turning 40 this year in August. So I just thought to myself it'd be really cool to hit that subscriber milestone before I hit my big 4.0 milestone that I am kind of looking forward to, feeling weird about actually, if I'm being honest, but I really wanted to do it by then. So excited that it's happened a couple of months before then. So thank you guys for watching my channel, for subscribing, for being a viewer, and helping me grow on this platform. Now, in my videos, I pretty much mostly stick to gardening. I don't share a whole lot about myself, so I'll give you guys the quick overview. I'm Regina. I currently, right now, I am a stay-at-home, homeschooling mom of 3 kids, but it actually has not always been that way. I've only been a stay-at-home mom since August of 2021. I was a part of the Great Recession, one of those people who left my career, or left my career essentially during the kind of pandemic time where a lot of people were reevaluating things. We just had some challenges with my son in school. He was just really unhappy. We switched schools a couple of times, and he's a brilliant kid but really hated school. He wasn't being challenged. He wasn't like getting what he needed. It was stressing him out, and kind of the pandemic just brought that into our home. And so I just decided, well, not just me, my husband and I, we talked about it, and I thought that with my background, I'd been a teacher for 5 years, and then I worked in ed tech for 10 years, and that was the job that I left. I'm working in marketing and ed tech. I just felt like I wanted to give it a shot. I knew I could probably give him the education that he needed, and not saying that things in schools aren't good. Like, he went to great schools, he had some great teachers, but I know from my 5 years as a classroom teacher, it's really hard it can be really difficult to adjust for the kids that are the outliers, whether they're outlying because they're really advanced or outlying because they struggle, just because of the nature of having to teach that many students at the same time. So no shade on his teacher or his schools or anything like that, but it just wasn't providing him what he needed. And so I know that I could do that because, it would just be me and just him, plus, my other 2 children, my 2 daughters. So with 1 to 3, I could definitely have a better shot to give them something more personalized than, 1 to 20 or 1 to 25. And so we did that for the past year, and it's actually been going well, so we're going to do it again. And gardening is something I've been doing since, I've actually been doing gardening for the last 8 years, on and off. We moved into this house 9 years ago during the summer, and so the following season was when I started my first garden. I think I did just like 2 raised beds, and then the following season, I think I expanded it, another raised bed or something like that. And then I took a few years off when I had my 3rd child. It was just getting to be a lot, managing a garden and also working full time, because I always worked even with the kids. This is the first time I've ever not had a job, really, since I was like 15. And so it just became a lot, so I took a break. And then once 2020 hit, it was just kind of the perfect time to start it back up, and then expanded the garden really big, and here I am today. So with all that said, now you know a little bit about me. Let's get into this garden tour. So we'll start the tour in the southernmost end of my garden. These are my 2 southernmost beds, and these beds are both growing southern peas, field peas. This last bed, the southernmost one, that was the one where my onions were. I pulled those out, and believe it or not, I pulled up most of that grass, before I planted these peas, and I guess I didn't do a good enough job because it is back in full force. But I sowed seeds about a week ago. Yeah, about a week ago for the filled peas, maybe a little less than a week. And they're starting to come up, and I'm sure I expect many more of them to come up in the coming days. So yeah, so those will grow more field peas, southern peas, cow peas, whatever you want to call them. They're all in the same family as black-eyed peas, but there's lots of different varieties. These are purple hulls, and I believe I sowed some lady cream peas in there. And then in here we have some zipper cream peas and some white acre peas, I believe, and maybe a few lady cream peas here too. So now let me show you guys a little closer. So you can see here that some of the leaves have a little yellow on them. They're falling over. If you look here, some of the plants in the middle have like fallen over. They do that. They do it every year. Some people trellis them, the plants, because they do fall over. I don't. That's kind of a lot to trellis because I sow them so densely. I'm perfectly fine just picking up the plant and getting the peas off of them. Now the yellow, they are susceptible. I want to say it's like rust or some other disease. And it's not advised that you grow them in the same place 2 years in a row, which I did. I grew them in this bed last year and I haven't grown anything else there. So that might be part of the reason, but I did spray them with the fungicide spray, and hopefully that'll help them to have a little bit more longevity. But I will be planting my fall garden here, like my fall brassicas, come September. So I just want these, you know, for another couple of months of production. And of course I have the other bed as my secondary bed as well. So I can get plenty of filled peas to eat fresh in the summer and also to blanch and freeze for the rest of the year. Okay. Next up on the tour is the kind of the Brassica bed. I haven't been replanting brassicas because this season, or let me turn it, because this is where I've grown like my brassicas for the past couple of years, the past couple of seasons, and this season I'm actually not going to do that. I am going to, I'll probably leave it maybe dormant for the fall and then grow something else here in the spring. Who knows, maybe peppers. I haven't decided yet, but brassicas use a lot of nitrogen in the soil and other nutrients. I mean, lots of plants do. So I just want to switch it up a little bit. I'll put the brassicas there with that soil that'll be enriched with the peas, and then I'll grow something else here. But I have planted peanuts in this bed in some of the empty squares, and some of them have come up. I think I mentioned in a video before, I don't remember if I did or not, but sorry you guys, you can probably tell my voice. I have a cold and it's driving me crazy. Not COVID though, I did get tested. It doesn't feel like COVID. I had COVID and this isn't what it feels like. It's worse. But yeah, so when I went to Alabama a few months ago on our way to Florida, my aunt gave us some peanuts because my mom and I love eating peanuts, like getting fresh raw peanuts to roast and eat. And I decided to plant some of them. Because why the heck not, right? That's one of the really fun things about having a garden is you can just try some stuff. So I had this space open to where we had pulled out some cabbages, things like that, you know, that have lived their lives. And I used them and I planted some peanuts. And so some of the plants have come up. Let me give you guys a closer look at them. And I am pretty daggone excited about it because how neat would it be to grow some peanuts? Like, I don't know if I would ever use a whole bed just to grow peanuts. I don't know if that would be worth it to me, considering the fact that I eat peanuts and my daughter does, as far as the people in my house. My other two kids and my husband do not. But I don't know. So, but it would be a really cool thing to have around. Then I can make some boiled peanuts like we do in Alabama. If y'all haven't had boiled peanuts, you just try them. Alright, so here's a little closer look at the peanut plants. Okay, there you go. Here they are. Here's one. So not everything I planted came up, but they are looking really cool, and I'm really excited to see how they do. Other things growing in this bed is pretty much what was here before. I have kale, curly kale and dino kale. We've been eating that. Actually, had my brother came over and he took a ton of it because he loves cooking and eating kale. I have some lettuces and mustard greens that have bolted, gone to seed. I'm just waiting for these to dry out so I can harvest those seeds for next season. I have my thyme over there that is growing and growing and growing, which is wonderful. I love thyme. I have celery here that, I don't know, y'all, this extreme heat really early we had this year just kind of made everything act crazy. So it never got tall. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and harvest it and then just dehydrate it. Because celery has a really strong flavor, the leaves and the stem, when you dehydrate it. So I'll just use it that way and grow some more for the fall. Back there I have my lavender plant. I'll show you guys closer actually. Let's move over to the other side. So here I have my lavender plant. It's put on some blooms. I actually made some tea with it and mint, lavender and mint tea, and it was actually really good. I'm not a big tea drinker, but I enjoyed that with some honey and a little bit of lemon. And then more kale back here. And then I have these beautiful collards. I think these are Vates collards, but look at the color of them. They're just like this pretty bluish green, and they are tasty as well. And they're doing well. So I actually have been spraying these with BT regularly so I can keep them so I can get rid of the caterpillars so that we can actually use them during the summer, because you know what, they're growing here, why not? Usually I just let them go, but I decided I want to keep them, especially because my brother really likes them too, so that way I have kale and greens for the summer. Okay, next up on the tour is the strawberry bed. So the strawberry bed probably looks similar to the way it did last time, except for the fact that there's quite a bit more grass growing in here. This grass has been kind of a pain, but that's okay. Strawberries are perennials and they like to be jostled around. So when winter comes and they kind of go a little more dormant, I'll be able to kind of move some of the plants around, move all the grass, replant them, and they will be perfectly fine with that because strawberries are tough. Also, some of them I've got some dried out leaves. I just need to get in here with my shears and do a lot of pruning on this bed. They actually are still producing. Right now the berries I'm getting are pretty small. Sometimes I'll get bigger ones, but they are still pumping them out, which is really nice. And I think it's because I have a variety of berries growing in. I also, down that end, there were a ton of zinnias. There are a few left, but I removed most of them because they were kind of taken over. So I have a little area where there isn't a whole lot, but these plants are starting to produce a lot of runners. And so I'm working on getting some, I'm going to get some cups of soil and root some of the runners in. At least the ones that I can't, it doesn't make sense to root in place, so that then I can have those runners and plant them in spots, in other spots of the garden, so that this bed will just be covered in strawberry plants come next season. So far I've gotten several pounds of berries from them, so I'm really happy with the production, and I'm sure like as the weather cools in the fall, I'll probably get a way larger, an additional crop that's larger than what I'm getting in the heat of the summer. So strawberries are doing great. They look kind of a mess, but they actually are producing and doing well. Also in this bed I have some dill growing. I have a little bit of cilantro left that I let go to seed. I'm going to harvest those. And I have some basil that has sprouted up, because I did have basil growing in this bed last year too. And so I'm just kind of letting that grow until I decide to take it down, because when it bolts, whenever the basil bolts, of course, the bees just love basil flowers so much. So I like to have lots of things in my garden for the bees to eat whenever I can. So now we have arrived at the Indeterminate Tomato Bed. As you can see, these ooh, look at that. These are the eggs of some sort of insect that I do not want around. So I get my gloves and rub those off. Yikes. But the Indeterminate Tomato Bed, as you can see, it's outgrown me a while ago, actually, it did that. But it is still pumping out tomatoes. Lots and lots of cherry tomatoes. I've also gotten several, I'll pull you around to the other side. I've gotten several Cherokee Purple and Castelluto Genovese. It's been really, really fun. They've gotten to the point, I have had some disease on the leaves, a few spider mites. I have done a little bit of spraying, not a lot. And I've done a lot of pruning of the foliage. Actually, just yesterday, I pruned off so many leaves. That's why it's looking a little sparse, but I'm okay with that because plants only need a certain amount of leaves in order for photosynthesis to happen. And if you look up, I don't know how clearly you can see it, but it's kind of like the lower growth is where you see most of like the yellowing, but the plant is still growing taller and producing more flowers, lots of flowers, and lots of really nice leafy green growth. So even if I get rid of all of this damaged stuff down below that doesn't look nice, the plant is still doing just fine. So now that they've gotten so tall, I've kind of just mostly kind of let them go because it's hard for me to manage when they get tall like that. And I want to maximize my fruit production. So now that they're kind of out of my way, I might eventually have to top them so they don't like fall over, but I'm just kind of letting them grow. I'm not pruning off every single sucker. I'm just kind of letting it grow so I can get the most fruit out of it that I can before, you know, hopefully like before disease gets them. Now usually my plants don't die to disease, they die to cold. And I'm thinking that'll be the same way here. Now, so I'll lose a couple, but I usually don't lose all of them. It's usually they're usually producing up until the cold. And so that's what I expect this year. And so I just kind of let them live their lives up there, and once they get up top and kind of be a little bit more wild, because as the season moves forward, there's going to be more leaves and stuff I'm going to have to prune anyway. Hope that made sense, but they're doing great. Let me show you the other side so you can see some of the larger tomatoes. We just harvested a bunch off of these yesterday, and there's still some that could be harvested that are blushed. But I've been excited with the production. It hasn't been really a whole lot of them that haven't done well. Actually that's not true. The Sweetheart cherry tomatoes are probably the ones that are doing the worst. I don't know why exactly, but I ended up pruning off pretty much all of their leaves, almost all of them, and I let them ripen the fruit that was on there, and we harvested most of that. But for some reason, these are more susceptible to blight or whatever it is than the other ones, and that's fine, and that's something you learn when you're growing a lot of different varieties. The only variety I'm growing this year in this bed that I grew last year are the honeycomb hybrid. All the other ones are new varieties to me in this bed, so there's going to be some things that work and some things that don't. And for the vast majority of them, they are doing really well. This one variety is kind of the one that has had the most trouble. The terracotta is struggling a little bit, but mostly the Sweetheart. Otherwise, they're doing great. So here we have some of the larger ones. Like here's a Cherokee Purple. These are really delicious. I'm so glad I grew them. I'd seen a lot of people on YouTube, on the interwebs, talking about how delicious this tomato is, and it really is tasty. So I have several of these still on the plant, and this plant is still growing. These Castelluto Genovese. These have been really fun. Love the shape of them, the look of them, but they're also a really tasty slicer. Have lots of those growing on the two plants. So it's actually, you know, so far been a really great tomato season, and I'm really excited about all the tomatoes that we've harvested so far. I've been tracking them in my garden journal, my pensieve, and so far as production goes, just with me guessing, the yellow pear has been like a workhorse. That produces so many tomatoes. And the honeycomb hybrid and the sun peach, those three seem to be the most productive, but all of them are producing. And then I do have these few down here that I planted much later. I got some yellowing of leaves that I need to prune, but these younger plants, these will be great because if some of these do kind of peter out or disease gets them, then I have these younger ones that are coming up and will still be going. So also here in this bed these are some wax beans. I had corn here that I've already harvested, and so here are some wax beans that I planted from Dollar Tree. They've come up, they're looking good. So now this jungle of a bed is the Determinate Tomato Bed. I have Romas, mostly Romas, but I also have one early doll tomato plant, and I have 3 Amish paste tomato plants. They are the wildest ones, And still 0 tomatoes on those plants. 0. Now, from my Romas, I've harvested, I want to say about 20 pounds, maybe a little more than that, of just Roma tomatoes. So, and I have 8 Roma tomato plants in there, so not bad. But they still have lots of fruit on them, and they're still flowering and setting fruit, even though it's been like 100 degrees here. So that's exciting. But Romas did well for me last year too. Now, I've already started in the house. Here, I'll give you guys a little bit closer look, so in case you don't believe me, because these plants are looking kind of pitiful. But yeah. Here. I don't even know if that's showing, but here we have fruit. You can see a few of the tomatoes here. They're still green. Once they start to blush color, then I take them in and let them finish ripening indoors. But there's actually lots of fruit in there, still growing. See flowers here. I give them a little shake. But I actually have already started. Seeds indoors. I actually have a video. No, I started recording it. I'll show you guys an update. But actually, y'all, there are wasps out. I have already started seeds indoors for more Romas and early dolls and terracottas, because the terracotta is semi-determinate, to replace these plants. So once they're done setting their fruit, once it doesn't look like they're flowering anymore, all of that, I'm going to pull these up and plant new Roma tomatoes, because our growing season is long here. We usually don't get a first freeze until November. Last year we didn't get one until late December, early January. So that gives me plenty of time to get another round of Roma tomatoes, which I'm really excited about. I've already made paste. I made a sauce for dinner. I've made sun-dried tomatoes. I have frozen a full bag of tomatoes. So I want to grow as many as possible to serve as many of our tomato needs as possible during the year. So yeah, definitely gonna take advantage of that. And that's why, like, there's a little blight, etc. That's something you'll see on tomatoes. And this season has been particularly just rough on them, because it's just been extreme heat, drought. But I'm not too worried about it, because these tomatoes have an expiration date anyway. So once they're done, I'll pull them up and then plant again. So here we have peppers and eggplant. This bed is doing great, except for the tomatoes are kind of disrespectful. And my trellising, my Florida weave trellising has not been great. Well, actually, it was okay. I just didn't keep up with it. So they're kind of falling over. But the Amish paste, really, they've got some nerve doing that without producing anything. But anyways, the peppers and the pepper bed is looking great. Y'all, peppers just, they seem to really like the heat. Now their leaves look a little bad because the insects have just gone for them. But overall, they're doing great. Like, as you can see over here, lots and lots of peppers. Let me get in the frame and show you guys. Yeah. Yikes. Okay, y'all, there are grasshoppers out here, and they get big, and I really don't like them or being around them, so hopefully I don't see one. I usually call my husband out when I see one because he can get them. I just, not even with gloves, I can't stand them. They're so gross to me. But anyway, so these are the Cubanelles. They're doing well. I have Marconi. These are Cubanelles. The Marconi are here. Ooh, looks nice. Starting to turn red. Orangey sweet. Everything is producing. I haven't gotten a ton of peppers yet. And actually, the first round of peppers I was getting had like some rot on the end of them. I don't think it was blossom end rot because it was like on the end or on the side. But it was kind of driving me bananas. But I don't know what it was exactly. Maybe it was some kind of blossom end rot, but I've kind of stepped up my watering. I was trying to, I think I mentioned it before, I was trying to like see how little I could water them, because I know in the raised bed, the roots can reach down and get, you know, like there's often more water than you think there is. But I think I was doing just not quite enough, and that was causing them some problems, because now the peppers are looking a lot better. So I just think because I was trying to go like 3 days without watering, and I think I just need to stick with every other day, giving them a deep soaking. But yeah, the Marconi, I mean the Cubanelles and the Marconis are the really fun banana peppers. I love those, are crazy productive. I've got Purple Beauty, California Wonder, And then on this side, this is where I have more of my hot peppers. It's hard to tell because they're all in here very close together. Peppers can handle being close together, rubbing elbows. So don't be afraid to plant your peppers close. I give mine just a square foot each, and they've done great. So maximize that. And here on the end are the eggplant. These fairy tale eggplants. And I picked that. Oh, maybe not. These fairy tale eggplant here. 2 of those plants. And then I have a, I don't even know if you're able to see that. There we go. Fairy tale eggplant. And then I actually have some larger one, the Rosita ones, over here. And then here are the Rosita eggplants. They get larger, but look at that. I'll probably come by and harvest this one tomorrow. I didn't bring anything to harvest with today. And plus, I'm out here in the evening, and I know if I start harvesting, it's going to take a lot longer, and I wouldn't be able to get through the video before it got dark. So this brings us to our cucumber melon archway. Cucumbers are doing well. This is an Armenian right here. Lots and lots and lots of these Armenian cucumbers, which is really, really nice to have cucumbers so far into the season, because last year I did not get that. And I recently learned that I can actually chop these up and freeze them. I've been using them in smoothies because I just can't eat salads to eat these Armenian cucumbers. But I've been using them in smoothies, and they really add like a little bit of a cucumber taste, of course, but I put bananas and all kinds of fruit in my smoothie, so they just kind of blend right in. But they're really tasty. And so I'm chopping these up and freezing them, the ones that I can't eat fresh right away, so that they don't go bad, and that is working out really nicely. Now also I'm going to show you guys up close. I have some watermelon growing in here. I'll show you how I have that hammocked, because I don't like being under here without a hat on. I'm scared something, like a bug, is going to land on my head, so let me walk out. So I have 2 kinds of melons growing in here. I have a watermelon, and this one is a yellow crimson sweet melon. It actually gets pretty big, so we're going to see how it goes. I wonder if, yeah, we'll see. Last year they got really big, but they were so sweet and delicious. I tried Sugar Baby, and they just didn't end up sweet for me, so I didn't grow those again. And then I also have this French melon, Sharon Tice. I don't know if I'm saying it right, probably not. But I have a couple of those over here. Here's one that I've already hammocked. And here's one that I need to get a hammock for. And I just use like an old stretchy t-shirt for the watermelon. This one is like part of some tights. I'm probably going to buy some more tights because they work really well because they stretch. I have another watermelon down here. Let's see. Yeah. So really excited about the watermelon and the other melons as well. And then, of course, in the bed next to the melon is the okra. And I haven't mentioned them all, but you've seen marigolds throughout these beds, and also basil. This is like lemon basil and sweet basil. I have basil planted kind of everywhere. Every so often I go in and cut off all of the blooms. And I'll probably be doing that as it cools down a bit, and cut off all the blooms and let it grow back. So I get like the best tasting basil and then make a whole bunch of pesto. Because it bolts so fast when it's hot, it's almost like really difficult to get that best tasting basil that hasn't bolted yet. So I just kind of wait for I eat it the way it is, but it doesn't taste nearly as good as when it hasn't bolted. So we'll eat it during the summer, kind of like this, as we need it. And then when I want to make a whole bunch of pesto kind of to last me for the rest of the year, I'll wait till the fall and then cut it all back and let it grow. And then use that. So here we have the okra. The okra is getting taller and taller. It will be taller than my house, or tall as my house. Definitely tall as this fence, the backyard fence, by the time the summer's over. Here is a better look at the okra. Several different varieties here. I did an okra video not that long ago about planting it and how it grows. Okra's really easy, especially if you live in a hot climate. You can just direct sow it. You don't have to start seedlings, anything like that. But yeah, I have lots of different varieties. Jambalaya, Bowling Red, Burgundy, Clemson Spineless, Go Big, Okinawa Pink. Yeah, lots of varieties of okra. To me, they pretty much all taste very similar. But it's fun to have different varieties. And they pretty much are all very productive. The Okinawa Pink is extremely productive, but I also have I have 6 of those plants, so that might just be why I feel like it's more productive. Now we're going to take a look at the containers. Here I have blueberries in containers. I still have some blueberries on these plants. I have not actually been tracking or weighing my blueberry harvests because I haven't had many, because there's just not a lot of berries. But we have eaten some, just kind of like as they go right, since there haven't been a ton. And pretty much every variety I've tasted has been really good. I have lots of different varieties of blueberries. I do have a video on kind of the early spring care, but I do talk about the varieties there. But what I'm most excited about with the blueberries is that they've put on a lot of growth. It's gotten windy, which feels great, to be honest. But they have put on a lot of growth. As you can see, that light green, that new growth. I fertilized them just a couple of weeks ago with an acid-loving fertilizer, and I'll probably hit them again in about 3 weeks to keep that growth going, because, you know, the more they grow this season, the more leaves and stuff, that's the more fruiting buds they'll have next season. So I'm just more interested in them putting on a lot of growth since these plants are really young, so that they can produce a lot of berries in the future. Also over here, I have some herbs in a container. Here, some parsley and dill and cinnamon basil. Y'all, my squash plants have seen better days. I think they're pretty much gone. The squash vine borers plus the squash bugs, they teamed up and they beat me. I got 2 yellow squash and 0 zucchini. Also 0 last year, so squash was a fail. You can't win them all, right? Like, that's part of gardening. Some things you win, some things you won't. And I hardly even like squash, so it's whatever. Maybe I'll try it again next year. Maybe I won't. I don't know. In the back, you see some sage and thyme and rosemary in that container back here. I'll show you. Doing well. And then here, the ground cherries are doing their thing. Some of the leaves look kind of light yellow, green. I don't know. They have been fertilized recently, and they're still producing like crazy. But I had this issue last year. The leaves just start changing colors on me. I've just decided that I will fertilize when they need it, when it makes sense. And if they keep producing, I'm not going to stress about it. Plants kind of live their own lives. But I say this every video because not enough people know about ground cherries. But if you have kids and you grow a garden, then you should consider growing them. They're sweet. My kids love coming out and picking these. My tomatillos are looking good. I actually have my first one in there. My first ripe one. You can see it's yellow. I should get it. Now tomatillos, I learned this last year growing them. They put out a lot of flowers, and then it seems like you're not getting any fruit from them. But actually, for some reason, it just takes them a while. They'll put out a lot of flowers, and then they'll grow, and they'll put out a lot of flowers, and then later on in the season, then you'll start getting fruit, and then you'll get a ton of it. So last year, I thought there was something wrong with my plants because I was getting tons of ground cherries and no tomatillos. And then I started getting the tomatillos. I think they just take a while to get established and to fertilize or whatever. But once I started getting them, I started getting them. So I'm not stressing too much about the fact that I don't have a lot of tomatillos yet. The plants look good, so I know they're coming. And then here in the back are the nectarines. There are probably about a dozen nectarines on each of those plants. Can't really see them because of the leaves, but promise they're there. So now we've gotten here kind of to the rest of the backyard orchard area, and this is where the fruit trees are. Most of these are new. It's their first year. I will do a video on the backyard orchard because I just started this, you know, this bed. Most of this stuff has just been planted this year. And these trees, most of them were bare root just this past fall, and they've grown immensely. So I want to show that because I do have footage when I planted it and show how I did that and how I picked out the varieties, etc. But yeah, so here I have my 2 apples. The tall one is a Granny Smith, and this one down here is a Fuji. The Granny Smith is a pollinator for the Fuji. Here are my plum trees. Look at this, y'all. They're getting so big. I have a Methley plum and a Bruce plum. So they are pollination partners. I actually have to come in here and I'm gonna bend these branches down. See how they're growing up top? Branches that grow straight up like that are less likely to develop the fruiting buds. Something to do with apical dominance, I'm not sure, but I'm gonna actually tie these down so that they grow more out during this season, and that's gonna help them develop fruiting buds. So I have that to do on all of these trees to help with that. That's the task I have coming up. But behind these, let's see, I'll take you guys a little closer. You can see the peach trees. So here I have 2 peach trees. I have a red skin peach and a harvester peach. But they look kind of as one. And that's how I'm growing them. I'm growing like 2 trees together, but I'll prune them as if they're one tree. Essentially with like 2 trunks once I prune them in the winter. But this first year I just want to let them grow as much as possible, and then I'll prune them back this winter to the shape that I need. And then here are my cherry trees. I have a Lapins and a Stella. These trees I didn't buy bare root. These were potted trees that I purchased last summer, which is why they're so much bigger. They're taller than the others. And then over here in buckets are my mulberry trees that have yet to be planted. Planning to do a raised bed for them, but I've had a couple of people suggest that I just put them in the ground, which I did do with my pear trees. And I'm considering it because I don't know if I'll ever build this raised bed because it's just really hard to find the time to do it. So I might just put them in the ground right here, right there where I have them. Well, a little moved over a little bit, but that's where I'm planning on planting them. And then here, guys, are the, look at this. These are blackberries. Now, if you guys remember, I want to say I've harvested maybe 6 or 7 pounds of blackberries. That was my first round, and those were the blackberries from the, from last year's canes. So the Floricane blackberries, if it'll focus. And now I'm getting berries on the new canes, because these are primocane fruiting blackberries, which means they fruit on first-year canes and second-year canes. So all of these berries, where they're growing, this is all growth that has happened this season. These blackberries have been amazing. I am really excited because look at this. We're getting a whole bunch more berries coming through on these plants. So yeah, lots and lots of berries growing, and it's very exciting. Uh-oh, this one broke. Looks like some birds may be finding them too. But look at that. Look at all these berries, y'all. And these are Primark Freedom. I started with 4 plants, and they have expanded. I probably could have just had 2, looking at how they're sending up canes everywhere. But, you know, you live, you learn. And then here are my raspberries. These are Caroline Red. I've already gotten berries off of them. They have been fruiting. They're fruiting even more. See buds on the ends of those. And then over there are the double gold raspberries. I haven't gotten any double gold yet. So, but they're both, these are all primocane fruiting raspberries as well. So, also in this keyhole bed, I have, let me set down my tripod. Here. I have basil and parsley and shiso, which is a Japanese herb. I have Thai basil in there. Some orangey sweet peppers. I just kind of planted some things where I didn't really have another place to put them, but I had seedlings. Purple basil there. It's bloomed. So pretty. Bees love that. And here I dropped some corn seeds. I was just looking for something to put here because I had harvested the beets a while back. So I went ahead and put some seeds for corn, because that corn I grew was so tasty. So I figured I'd get a few more ears. Why not? Okay, and so right here, we are right next to the muscadine vines. Now I'll give you guys an up close. This one plant, this cowart, is covered in grapes, lots of grapes all over it. So I'm crazy excited about those. The other plant, though, has hardly any. So I don't know what's up with that. But, you know, we'll see. Maybe it's just the age of the plant. I don't know. I got both of these last year. And they were very tiny. Oh no, I just knocked one off. Okay, I need to stop doing that. Something obviously wasn't good. But yeah. So we'll see how it goes. But I've been keeping my eyes on these. I may have to cover it with tulle. I don't know, because I'm going to get some of these grapes. But this plant didn't really have any fruit this year. So I'll prune it back in the winter and we'll just see how it goes. Okay, you guys, I'm out here watering after the fact. And I forgot to show you guys the green beans on the wall. This is recorded on my cell phone, so it's probably not going to look as good. But these are the yard-long beans. The red ones, and they're doing great. I've harvested lots from these already. We've had them for dinner. I expect to harvest them throughout the summer. And then here are Kentucky Wonder pole beans. Lots of them, probably grown way too close. And even though pole beans don't usually set when it's this hot, I have fruit, y'all. Look at that. Those are beans. So, yay. Now, the pole beans seem to be a favorite amongst the bugs that like to eat leaves. And that's okay. Eat the leaves, not the beans, and we're good, right? And then here is another set of the yard-long beans. These are the green ones. Right here. I'm trying to hold this camera steady. I'm not good at that. Growing nicely up the trellis on the fence. And I've harvested plenty of these as well. They grow very nicely, very quickly. Here's one for you to see. But they get much longer than that. It'll get like 3 times as long and like about the width of a pencil before I harvest it. And then lastly, this is the other Kentucky Wonder pole bean. I also have some Triumph of Violetto. I definitely overplanted these, y'all. It's just what I do. It's just who I am. I've accepted it. But they're growing nicely and starting to set some beans. They're actually flowering, which I'm really excited about considering how hot it's been. But that is why this looks different from everything else, I'm sure, and it's probably a little bit darker outside. It's a little darker outside too, but yeah, I almost forgot. And I love these things. I've enjoyed getting to grow them this way because it just takes up less space in my garden. Rather than using one of my other raised beds, I built these beds specifically for these pole beans and made this trellis with string and wire, utilizing the fence that's already there. And I'm excited that it's working out. So here is the view of the garden from, now I'm on the north side, from north to south. And I've shown you all of it. I think the only thing I didn't show you actually is over here, the gooseberry plant. Go. And there's my gooseberry plant in that container right there. I gotta figure out where to put it, but it's really thorny, so I'm not sure. And eventually I'm gonna get rid of this wood. If I don't end up making that raised bed, I'm gonna get rid of it because I'm tired of having it back here. My old fence wood. Now, the only thing I have left to show you, I'm gonna give you guys a glimpse of the pear trees. So here are my pear trees. Here's one, and then there's the other one. This one actually does have a few pears on it. Look at that. Growing nicely. And there's a few others. But yeah, it's looking great. Getting a lot of growth. I've actually started on this one. Let me show you. I've started here tying down the branches. I'll eventually finish on the pear trees and do the trees in the back so that they are growing more horizontally, so that they develop more fruiting buds. for next season. So I've only done like 2 branches, but I'm gonna finish for most of the tree and do that to my other fruit trees as well. Thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. I enjoyed taking you guys around my garden. I hope you enjoyed the view. Every time I do one of these tours, I always see things that I hadn't seen in a while, and I'm always amazed at how it's changed since the last one. I'll probably do like a mid-July since things change really fast now that the season is well underway, but we'll see how that goes. But once again, thank you for watching, and of course, if you like the video, please click that like button. It helps this video get out to more gardeners and helps it spread, helps me to grow my channel, which I would greatly appreciate. And of course, subscribe to the channel for more gardening content. I have several videos under my belt now, so definitely go check those out. And click that bell notification to be notified every time I upload a new one. So, until we meet again, have a great one. Bye.